So, welcome to Once Upon a Pandemic series with myself, Yvonne Redden. And this series is all about sharing stories on staying positive through these challenging times. In particular, this particular lockdown has been really hard. And I'll be chatting to people from around the globe. Today, we're in Dublin and we're chatting to Gillian Fagan. Gillian is a psychotherapist, counsellor, couples therapist, CBT therapist, workshop facilitator. That's a real tongueful, Gillian, and a personal development coach based in Dublin. And your website is acora.ie. Welcome to the series today. Thanks for joining me, Gillian.
Thanks so much, Yvonne. Yeah, it is a mouthful. I'm just Gillian. It's grand.
We'll just go, Gillian. Oh, that's brilliant. And tell me, you've a really tough job. How are you staying positive every day? Like, do you have a daily routine that you do, or a mantra, or something that you do, just even to keep you focused?
I'm going to break all of the rules by telling you what works for me is not having a routine.
Okay.
Every single day is different. And it's that variety that absolutely gets me bouncing out of bed in the morning. I feel very claustrophobic personally in routine. And I know routine works for most people. So I'm not saying do what I do, but it's the variety of what I do. And to be honest, it might seem like a tough job, but I used to work in financial services. So this is now me absolutely living my mantra, I suppose. I would be struggling a lot more if I was in my old job than doing this. Whereas now I get a chance to connect with people and help people and work with so many different people. So no, in a nutshell, I don't. I wish I could say to you, yes, here's the magic secret ingredient. For me, it's about living with purpose. And I know how naff that sounds, but as someone who didn't live with purpose for a very long time, that's my mantra. It's just, I absolutely love my life. I love what I do, and I've so much purpose in every day.
Yeah. And you're a busy lady, aren't you? We've been trying to do this chat for a while. It's been hard to catch you down, isn't it?
I am busy. I love it. I've always been busy. I've always, like anyone who knows me, even in the old job, I was while I was working a 9 to 5, I was still studying in the evenings. I was going to the gym. I was doing dance classes. I was DJing. I was doing wine tasting, whiskey tasting, like here, there, and everywhere. I suppose the whole thing is life is for living. So I've always a lot on, and now just with COVID, I basically opened up 2 days a week for free care calls that people could just book if they needed to connect and have a chat and get support without committing to being in therapy or paying for a session. So that's kept me very busy. And I run Acora Therapy, and I also run Under the Rainbow, and then I'm on a board of a couple of other little humanitarian NGOs. So yeah,
as you do, like you. And you've just said there everything that you've tried. Is there something professional-wise in your career that you haven't done yet that you'd love to do? You've seemed to have covered quite a lot there before.
Yes, I'm doing a lot of training with companies at the moment on workplace wellness and inclusivity, especially with working from home. It's becoming a wider and wider gap with organizations. But in last year, I got diagnosed. Finally, I kind of suspected for a long time, but I got diagnosed as autistic with ADHD, thrown in for good measure. And I'd love to. Like I'm doing a lot of training myself on that at the moment, and I'd love to help companies recognize this and help utilize and make a supportive environment and help people recognize their own strengths and skills, where it's a win-win for the company and for the individual working there as well. Because I think looking back on my career, that was something that definitely worked against me, but I didn't even know it at the time.
Of course, yeah. And sharing your experience, I think the pandemic has opened up this whole new Pandora's box for different things to look at. And this is one as well, in particular with people working from home. And people have thought about their jobs that they've been in for years. And it's like, I hate my job. Now I need to change. Maybe it's a time to do that. I think a lot of people have been rethinking and reflecting their lives.
I know. And that's what time and space does. I had the space. I was very lucky in that I got made redundant and had the space to do that same reflection myself a few years ago. And that was when I finally decided, I always fancied myself as a therapist. When I was 12, I wrote a letter to myself I'd more cop on at 12 than I do in my 40s. I wrote a letter to myself that I wanted to be a counsellor and a writer. And
Isn't that
now I'm,
funny? Isn't that brilliant?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm doing a writing workshop at the minute, Gillian. That's funny that you say that. And she gives us tasks. I'm always doing workshops. So I think you can never know enough
Okay.
as a writer. And it just challenges you, and I like a challenge. And one of the tasks was to write a letter to your 12-year-old self.
Ooh.
Isn't that funny? So that's a really familiar task that people do in writing classes, because it's interesting, because you have to go deep and you have to go back and remember what it's like being that 12-year-old. And I think 12-year-olds now and 12-year-olds then would have been quite different. It's a different world completely. It's very interesting.
I know. I'm so glad I was 12 when I was.
Same.
I wouldn't want to be a 12-year-old these days.
No, and wouldn't that be an interesting piece to write? A 12-year-old now versus a 12-year-old in the 1980s. I'm a bit older than you. It would be, it's such a different contrast in the way of life that we're living now. That's interesting. That's brilliant. Isn't that amazing? You must look back at that and go, oh my God, you were well ahead of yourself.
I was so grounded, and I
Yeah.
knew myself so well, and I really did. Reading that, I did know who I was, and then secondary school happened, and should have the whole thing around fitting in and being liked and doing okay.
I've been writing about that as well. I hated first year. I just did not fit in, and I'm adopted as well, and I always feel that that's something got to do with that fitting in thing. You know, deep down, there's always that, not a misconnection, maybe, I don't know what it is, and a wanderlust to travel and to do something different. It's just the way I've felt, but that's really interesting. We could talk about that for hours.
I know.
Maybe we will another time. But on your website's brilliant. Cora.ie. I have it coming up there on the screen. You say that you're an integrative, humanistic psychotherapist. What exactly does that mean, Gillian?
Well, my website is in the background. I'm doing a massive overhaul on the website. Looking back, it's actually very wordy, and even that sentence is quite wordy. So to give clarity on what it means, humanistic basically for me, and it seems to mean different things to different people, it's about the whole person. It's their lived experience. The individual is the expert in their own life, but sometimes they don't even know that, because they could be overwhelmed or lost, or look at their life and say, this is not the life I thought I'd live. So it's genuine concern for everything that's going on. It's your whole experience, the whole human experience of what makes you you. So humanistic therapist means I'm not working from a set of rules or a set of books. I'm helping you empower yourself, because you already have the answers, and you might just need a bit of direction in how to unlock them. And integrative, I was trained in what's called psychodynamic, which I enjoyed. And that is, for anyone who doesn't know, that's kind of the classic Freudian therapy of the unconscious and the ego. And I have to say, I do enjoy it, but it's a bit dated, and there's so much more to life than that. And once I started learning about human psychology and human behavior, I can't get enough. I haven't stopped studying it. I didn't just qualify and graduate and that's that. I'm always studying, and I'm studying sociology at the moment. But integrative is learning so many different types of therapy, and then having a toolbox of different styles, different techniques, knowing when to bring in. For example, someone might really want cognitive behavioral therapy, the CBT therapist, and yet someone might also want to do some work on their unconscious behaviors and why they are who they are, and why they keep making the same kind of patterns over and over, because we repeat things in order to learn from them. Well, I believe that. So the integrative part is all the different styles, and I'll just bring a mixture of styles in. So if somebody is looking exclusively for any one particular type of therapy, I mightn't be the best therapist for them, because if I think, actually, no, this style might work best with what you're talking about, it's like I guess colouring in and not necessarily following the numbers, making the picture a lot more going on in the picture than you're just, the paint by numbers.
And I think, like, a lot of people can go through their life not really knowing what they want to do, what they want to be. And I think that's a big issue, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that can really interfere with your behavior and everything. I mean, there's a lot of psychology in that as well. I mean, you have to have that in you if you want to change or if you want to try new things. Not everyone does.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always up for challenges and up for new things.
Yeah.
I think I love the lifelong learning as well. I think you can never know enough. There's too much knowledge. There's too much stuff to learn that you can never know enough. So I love education as well. I love it. But you have a
Oh,
real longing for it, haven't you?
yeah, and to be honest, I did watch the QFA back in the day, and I worked in finance, and I was learning about people management, and it always felt like something was missing. And then when I started kind of learning about the psychology of human evolution and how we connect through teams from a
Yeah.
psychological perspective, it was a game changer for me, Yvonne. It changed completely how I was as a manager and then as a leader.
Mm.
So it's even before becoming a therapist, once I began to study human nature and like you're asking me about the whole motivation and lockdown, and that is part of it. It's this passion for trying to understand why we are the way we are, and what's going on in the world at the moment is something that's it is new. It is new, definitely in our lifetimes. It's definitely new. And I'm fascinated by the psychology of it and also how we can get through this. The sense of we're all in this together, hashtag we're all in this together, but there's a real split and divide in that. So it's about
Yes.
understanding what works for different people and allowing what might work for me, like this whole thing of not having a routine and every day being a challenge, that could
Yeah.
absolutely drain somebody else. And it's about allowing for, well, you work different and that's brilliant. Let's find what supports you, you know?
Yeah. Because you probably find yourself, I mean, you're used to going into an office as well, are you, Gillian? So how would you
I
find that at
used
home?
to. It was 21
Mm.
years, 9 to 5. I since I began to do the therapy practice, because I worked in the city centre, so all of my offices are in these Georgian buildings with staircases, and a lot of the people I'd work with would have disabilities and mightn't be able to access the room I'm in because of the staircase. So I've kind of
Yeah.
been working online as a therapist since day dot, just for the accessibility. So it's
Yeah.
not as big an
Massive
adjustment for me
change.
as
Yeah.
it might be for others. Yeah.
For sure, we're all well used to Zoom at this stage anyway.
Should have
And
got chairs on it back in the day.
yeah, I now imagine. And your profession, we touched on this just a second ago, must give you a good hint at the effects of the last year from your clients. Have you seen that? Can you share anything about that? I mean, from what you've learned the last year with your clients?
I'll tell you one thing that it just is a theme with nearly everybody, and it's the issue or the lack of connection that a lot of us feel that we have at
Yeah,
the moment.
yeah,
And the whole thing around staying positive and lockdown, I urge anybody who's struggling around it, try and connect in whatever way works for you, because different people connect in different ways. But the loneliness and the sense of being left behind and being left out and the isolation in this it's very dangerous for our mental health, and we're not supposed to be as isolated as a lot of us are feeling at the moment.
no, humans
Um,
need humans, don't they? This comes up all the time. We need contact. It's just the way we are, you
yeah,
know? So I get that. Yeah,
and most people actually find that when they get the routine, their mental health does improve.
mm,
And that's the thing. It's about really finding what works for you. And if you don't know what works for you, to even maybe keep tabs in a week. I always think of yourself as a battery. What charges the battery? What drains the battery? And it's a
yeah,
really simple way of finding out, okay, what's good for me and what isn't. But
mm,
I think with people's mental health at the moment, everybody's struggling. This illusion that, you know, I'm struggling, but everyone else is doing okay. There's a lot of that, especially in younger people, that I'm the
yeah,
only one who's been left behind and everyone else seems to be thriving. That's not the case. Even
no,
those of us, and I I am doing well, but
mm,
don't get me wrong, I struggle. And last week, even the whole challenge of finding somewhere new to walk within 5 kilometers,
yeah,
because
mm,
so we do need connection. We really
yeah.
do.
I think the 5 kilometer is taking its toll now. I think if they lifted that, it wouldn't, look, I'm not going to get deep into this. People wouldn't congregate in the same areas, and I'm lucky I live beside the beach. I've got the 5K is okay for me because I have different places I can go, and I'm lucky. And I've done Leary and I've the Pier, just about the 5K. But not everyone has that. People are stuck in town and they haven't got those places to go to. So it is tough. And I don't mind the isolation, Gillian, but I'm not completely isolated, and I think there's a big difference to people living on their own and being completely and not knowing what Zoom is, not knowing what to do and how do I get onto Zoom, them very little basic things, And I think the councils around are pretty good. They have a lot of things going there for people if they know how to look for them,
I know. And that is the thing. It's around, and when you're stuck in that place, it's very hard to even know how to educate yourself or how to learn how, like Zoom is even a thing. And I did do a talk last year with South Dublin County Council on isolation in the elder community, and how we all have a responsibility to some extent, if you are able to. Only you can only do what you can, but to be a lighthouse for others if you are able to. And I actually find that that's one of the biggest things that's motivating me in lockdown, is giving that time to helping others and supporting. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I'm a saint by any means, but it's that whole idea of, I've got a neighbour who doesn't use Zoom. She doesn't even text. She's partially blind. And my own grandmother, there's not a hope, but she can answer the phone, and that's about as far as it can go. So even the remembering, while a lot of young people hate phone calls, and a lot of people who work in offices hate phone calls,
older
and just
people like that.
Connection.
It's the connection, and the community centres are all closed down, so the communities don't even have that, and that would have been like a real life source for people. So it's not the same on the phone as actually seeing somebody, isn't it? Look, and I think communities have come together, and there has been a good camaraderie around the country, hasn't there? Thank goodness.
I agree, and to be honest, anyone who is I'm not tech savvy by any means, but anyone who's in any way, shape, or form able to use a phone or a computer, like, I don't think we probably would have met if it wasn't for COVID and lockdown. I made a challenge last year to try and meet somebody new every week that I would never have spoken with outside of COVID and lockdown. And I've had interesting conversations from people across the globe. And it means getting on social media and doing a bit of, hi, you look interesting, do you fancy a coffee? But it's been incredible. The conversations I've had have just absolutely set me up for the day, for the week, and some really long-term friendships being formed out of this. And
I
it's
agree.
about taking the chance.
Yeah, I know, it definitely opened up a lot of opportunities for me as well. I mean, even doing this series, talking to all these people from all around the place, and there's some really good ones still to come. I just keep finding extraordinary people, and I have to talk to them. So it's been wonderful for that, including yourself, Gillian, because we met each other on a business group, and like last year, and that's how the business groups are great as well for connecting with people too. There's lots of groups out there, isn't there?
And the real challenge is, like, if you look into evolution, we're actually supposed to be negative, which is horrible. Our brains are tilted towards negativity so that we can survive. But that's in a day-to-day or like normal situation where you're just surviving everyday life. When we have this global pandemic, it's absolutely, never mind tilting, it's pushing the brain into a more negative space. And the whole idea of positivity, it is a practice. And I know a lot of people kind of go, oh, positive, but it is, you have got to practice like any muscle. It's a workout, has to be done daily. And even if it's a case of, okay, what's good in today? What can I take from today? Where can I challenge myself? Where can I grow? Where can I actually find the positive things? Otherwise, and it is down to each person to do this work. And it sounds harsh, but that's the reality. Otherwise, we do get overwhelmed. We get anxious. We get stressed. We get depressed. And I'm not saying practicing positivity is a cure to all of those, but it helps keep the brain from completely tilting into that negative place. And we're wired for negativity. It's literally, it's how we have survived and exist in the world today. It's to steer clear from danger. But this is an invisible threat now that's out there. So it's so important to practice positivity in whatever way that takes. And that's different for everybody. That might be sitting there finding a talent, knitting, colouring in, painting, or it could be what you and me are doing, Yvonne, which is connecting and talking and, just socialising online.
Yeah. Because, exactly. And I think sometimes, if I hear any negative thoughts coming into my head, I go, stop it, go away. You just have to try and push it away. And it's like what you said, negativity will make you more negative. And can you tell people where they can contact you, Gillian, please?
Well, Gillian Fagan is my name. I'm on all of the social medias as Gillian Fagan, under Acora Therapy or under the Rainbow. And for the most part, if anyone drops me an email at info@acora.ie. If you just drop me an email, I'll send a link and we can have it like you and I are having, a virtual coffee, no obligation, no fee, just have a chat, connect with another human being, because it's helped me. And by extension, I offer that to people out there, provided I have the space in my diary.
Brilliant. Thank you, Gillian. And I ask all my guests this last question. So if you could write your memoir title in 3 to 4 words or less or whatever, what would it be?
Everyone would probably say my memoir should be "Oh, is that the time?" But my memoir is really, we're all just winging it.
We're all just winging it. Yeah. That's great. Gillian, thanks very much for your time and being part of this series. I really appreciate it. I know you're very busy. I can't thank you enough. And if anyone wants to contact me, please contact me on yvonneredden.com or across some of the social media platforms. And see you all next time on Once Upon a Pandemic. And bye for now. Gillian, take care and stay safe.
Thanks, Yvonne. Mind yourself.